Okay, welcome to Succeeding in the Federal Government Market. We have two great, incredibly knowledgeable people on this topic that are going to share what they know with you. So, as we get started, Paul, if you'd go to that next screen, I'm just going to give you a little bit background on Boston Business Mentors. We are a volunteer-based organization, and our goal is to help small businesses, whether you're haven't started yet, or already in business, or getting ready to exit that business. We have volunteers with skill sets that can help you. They come to us from all different backgrounds and industries and skill. They have a variety of skill sets. And, they have experiences that they've learned from, whether they were failures or successes. And they can give you information and guidance so that you can be successful on your pathway. We want to educate you, and we certainly do that through our workshops. Our website also has a lot of really great articles under the resources. There's some really great blog articles that are on current topics that are concerning small businesses today. We have, templates and things that you can download as well. But definitely don't forget about the mentoring. A mentor, you don't have to have a specific question. You could just be looking for a soundboard, someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to hold you accountable to make sure that you're moving forward with your goals. So if you've never had one, consider getting yourself a mentor. So we do have the QR code for that. And certainly bbmentors.org website. You can find a lot of other information and watch the newsletter and social media for upcoming workshops and webinars. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Paul and one of our Boston Business Mentors volunteers.
Great. Thank you so much, Therese. I'm pleased to be speaking here on a topic that's near and dear to me and my colleague, Tyrone Williams from the Small Business Administration, the SBA, and that would be, of course, government contracting and how to succeed in it. Our goal today is to give attendees a better feel for what makes a legitimate contractor in this complex and unique world of federal contracting. So we're going to go over benefits and challenges, talk about what it takes to the success factors to win in this market. Tyrone's going to expand on the certifications that enable you and facilitate the journey in the federal contracting world. Then we'll determine if your company's a fit and a number of helpful links and resources for your further journey. Again, I'm Paul Sirotkin. I'm a Boston business mentor, CEO of Sirotkin Group, my own consultancy. My observations and guidance come from 40 years of operating in this sector, both as an owner, a director, a stockholder, an employee, an executive. And I've been in startups, small companies, as well as mid-tier companies. So that's my background. Tyrone, why don't you give us where you've been and what you do for the SBA?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Paul. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Tyrone Williams. I am the Business Opportunity Specialist for the Small Business Administration. I previously worked for some Fortune 50 companies such as Pratt& and Whitney. I also worked for the City of Boston doing their small business development programming as well. And now I'm currently at the U.S. Small Business Administration, helping small businesses get to federal contracting opportunities. One of my main roles here at the SBA is helping our 8A. You can see here on the screen the number 8, lowercase letter A. These are small businesses that enter our 9-year business development plan. I will speak about later. Getting connected, market research, and understanding about how to elevate their business opportunities. And with that, I'll pass it back to Paul.
Thank you, Tyrone. So in terms of succeeding in this market, we want to level set it and have everybody come to common understandings as we start out the journey here. And so several things that come to mind. One is that commercial success does count for a lot in this marketplace that needs to be adapted for the federal world, and we'll talk more about that. It is not an either-or situation where it's either government or commercial contractor. You can be both, and you can be a government contractor only. You don't have to have a side or a complementary business commercial world. There is a language all to its own in the government contracting world, and it's going to become very obvious when you hear from Tyrone expand on that. Compliance. Compliance is threads through every aspect of the government contracting experience, from sales to bidding, winning contracts, and execution. And you're going to hear that driven home in great detail throughout our time together here. This is a rule-bound environment. It's a process-driven environment, exceedingly so, much more so than many, especially if they're not regulated industries in which you operate. But relationships are critical. They're throughout the whole process. To know the right parties is key, and it's opportunistic. I use the situation of a local dry cleaner that I use, a gentleman named Sal. We are both nearby Hanscom Air Force Base in Bedford, Massachusetts. So I saw some Air Force uniforms on the in the back of Sal's shop one day. Asked him about it. It turns out he knows an Air Force colonel from the base. And long story short, Sal was able to contact the base and set up a contract whereby he is the cleaner of choice for uniform cleaning done by persons who wish to turn in their uniforms, and he picks them up and takes them back each week. So Sal never envisioned himself a government contractor. Indeed, he holds a federal contract at this point. And that exemplifies the broadness of this market in the federal space. I took a look this morning at the people who signed up. One is in behavioral etiquette. Another is sells brands for law enforcement agencies. A third develops AI-assisted clinician insights. A fourth is a staff augmentation firm. And just to show you how broad the ecosystem is, another one is a community development financial officer lending to that market. So it's really a broad market and encompasses enormous amount of domains. When it comes to benefits of contracting with the federal government, I think of 5 terms that come to mind. One is duration, predictability, track record, transparency, and small business support. And specifically, I play mostly in the professional and technical services arm in the marketplace. Contracts can be as long as 5 years, with a very probability of high reorder by the government each year. The government typically makes predictable regular payments, often monthly, especially if they're labor-based. Some are based on delivery of services and products and may be subject to particular contractual requirements. But by and large, predictability is a watchword for the government. Past performance is a formal term in the government world. It shows where good work is done previously, and it's highly valued in terms of evaluation of new bids. Federal agencies and contractors follow the FAR. The FAR is the Federal Acquisition Regulations. It's an enormous, complicated document that's going through a lot of overhaul to try to simplify it now. But it's something that's it governs all aspects of government contracting world. And in terms of the small business support, this is what I'm referring to what the government offers. They define what a small business is for specific purposes. There are socioeconomic preferences that are available that facilitate the journey to get you into and to grow your business. And Tyrone's going to expand on that later on. There are certainly challenges to contracting in the federal government, especially if you've not done it before. And I'll come up with several terms. One's compliance, another is what I'll call suddenness, procurement and time. So compliance, suddenness, procurement and time. In terms of compliance, again, it's if you think through the entire process from sales, marketing, purchasing, the award itself, execution of the contract, it all requires an incremental investment to go beyond what you typically would have in a commercial world. And that's must keep that in mind all the time. There are specified accounting procedures. There are specialized timekeeping requirements. There's growing requirements to enhance the protection of classified, at least, and sensitive data within the federal world. And there's a prescribed pricing constructs which need to be followed when you're bidding and executing government contracts. When I say suddenness, I'm not sure you would have used this term a year or so ago, but nonetheless, it's very current now. The government can and does terminate contracts for convenience, for no reason whatsoever at any time, even if the contractor is performing well. And we saw that obviously in 2025, there are thousands of contracts canceled. In that case, it went along with the alignment of this particular administration as to what it saw as its priorities. So that has certainly slowed down in terms of the number of terminated contracts, but it's something to keep in mind at any time in the government world, and it certainly does happen. The the government has many ways in which it procures services and goods. It has a very elaborate plan of evaluation factors as to how to determine a winner, and it's by contract. Each time it changes, though there are some commonalities, but the methodology is intricate, can change, and is certainly complex in the vast majority of cases, with certain exceptions for smaller awarded contracts. This administration has been following and has put on steroids the move towards commercial purchasing in the federal world. And while that is true and that's coming online, the contract award cycle really can take a significant amount of time. And if you think about it from the government defining its mission, as it's called in the federal world, especially in the defense sector, to defining that requirement, to researching what kind of contractors can fulfill it, to the solicitation itself, the award process, and the contract startup, and then execution again, which can be over multiple years and over millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, in much larger systems. It is a long process, and it takes patience and other things we're going to talk about. Teresa, any questions we should be aware of at this point?
No, I do not have any submitted questions.
Okay. There are bedrock artifacts in this sector to operate. One is to get your company registered in SAM, the System for Award Management. You can't win a contract without it. Out of the SAM process will arise the unique entity identifier, a UEI, and it tracks you through all federal procurement participation, including loan process, everything you could think of that touches on the federal government. The relationship with the federal government has a UEI attached to it. Also, growing out of SAM, you will see the North American Industrial Classification. This is a code. It's self-declared. It's you telling the government market what kinds of goods and services you can provide. It comes out of the U.S. Census Bureau. They detail hundreds and hundreds of different segmented industries, and it's important. It's critical for you to have the correct NAICS or NAICS as it's known. And again, we reference the FAR. FAR is not something you sign up to, though it's something that needs to be understood, oftentimes with the advisor counsel, oftentimes with an accountant or lawyer. But if you're really serious about this business, you have to make yourself familiar with the federal acquisition regulations and its sub-agencies. For example, DOW has its own, Department of War has its own, what they call a DFAR, is a subset of the federal acquisition regulation. The SBA puts out asks the question publicly. They have on their website, does your company have what it takes to win and keep winning government contracts? So in this pairing here put together, the first statement is what the SBA said, and in certain cases, I'll be adding sort of a little flavor from my industry experience. So the government certainly prefers you to work with solid and reliable businesses. And I might add there that your experience as a private sector executive or employee or manager can be leveraged into the federal space. So it's not like you have to have government experience. You can bring strong experience from the private sector into the federal world. Do you have a track record of delivering quality goods and services on time and within budget? And one takeaway there is even if you're doing work in the private sector, you should be collecting, capturing data, how your company performed, what kind of kudos the government has given your company for performance, and track the types of things that the government would review in terms of its analysis of past performance. Is your reputation within your industry strong? And consider there all your public utterances, and that includes your website, LinkedIn posts, Glassdoor reviews that others have posted about your employment with your company. So think broadly about how the government does its market research with respect to your company, specific contract opportunity, and the companies that can perform it. The point we made before is it could take, it takes a long time to win your first government contract, could take up to 2 years. And that is certainly true. So, as we're going to talk about, and I know Tyrone's going to reinforce the point, to spend considerable time researching awarded contracts, procurement pathways, there's a lot to it. And this is the place where experienced mentor, advisor, and of course the SBA can play a whole role, a role in advising you on that aspect. More from the SBA, you'll need to have enough cash flow to sustain your business, and this is critical. I've seen a number of startup, smaller companies, or even experienced companies get themselves into a cash situation where they really don't estimate what it takes to win and perform on contracts. So even if don't think you have much value when you're starting out, you can review all the capital resources at your beck and call, and that could be obviously it's founder relationships, family members can participate, different kinds of loans, credit cards, obviously. And I would make, even as you're starting out, I'd start to establish a bank relationship to get the bank, a bank, especially one that has an SBA backing, as we'll hear, to get them comfortable with the types of things you're doing, the cash flow around these parts. A lot of banks are not that familiar with the government, receivable, more so than ever before, but certainly it's not something that's common to everything. So I establish bank relationships even before it's needed. Maintaining a diverse list of private sector clients can help offset any private sector initial losses. Another way I interpret this is more broadly is diversify your client base. I think this is true whether you're in the private sector, the government sector, a combination of both. But diversification is a very useful strategy. The last point from SBA here in this list, being e-commerce savvy is very important in government contracting. You must be able to invoice and receive payments electronically, and that is certainly true. I would add a whole technology add-on to that piece, and that is, like everywhere else, artificial intelligence, AI has exploded in the government contracting context. Contractors are using it to prepare proposals, understanding financial needs, enhancing their financials, helping automate their own processes and client processes. The government uses it to develop requirements. It vets candidates, assesses program sustainability. And it's really, there's certainly mandate from this administration and with all agencies to make AI critical in facilitating and smoothing out its relations and its interaction with public and other agencies. If after hearing all this, you've done your homework, if you decide it's a go that you think you're able to get into the federal market or want to grow it, market research, which never stops really, and never stops. I've been in this for decades, like I said, and you're always doing market research, and there's more online these days than ever before that you can access. So this includes whether you're eligible for any of the socioeconomic categories that Tyrone's going to talk about, what agencies are spending, which amounts, which clients are buying what you are selling, and importantly, as we referenced earlier, the investment needed to operationalize yourself to be procurement ready. Articulating strategy. Subcontracting is often meaning a way to start out in the government contracting world. In other words, to subcontract to another prime contractor, which has a direct contract with a relationship with the government. And this is another place to sort of, in my mind, code for focus. Who buys what you sell, how you adapt your offering, at what cost, over what time. So I think that's critical to make that determination as you go to market, not unlike what it is in the commercial sector. Apply for small business certifications. Some should be done immediately. Others probably it's better to wait. Again, you're going to hear from Tyrone on that, on what's involved there. And you're doing the right thing here by attending today. There are many, many webinars, workshops out there from the federal government, as well as private organizations such as ourselves. SBA does a lot. Small business development centers. Actually, I'll go to the next slide. Small business development centers are partially funded by the federal and state government. They're based at universities throughout Massachusetts. I think there's 5 of them at the moment, and they are both hybrid and in-person operations. SCORE, another nonprofit mentoring organization. Women's business centers. I think there's 3 nationally, but there's many that are out throughout the country, and we have women business centers here based in Massachusetts. And the Apex Accelerators. This is a national operation. There's one in each state. In Massachusetts, it's now based in Worcester at the Massachusetts Manufacturing Extension Partnership, but it's also a hybrid and virtual operation. So all these websites can be are very helpful for you to look further. And of course, book an appointment with a Boston business mentor such as myself or somebody else who has experience in the federal sector. So it's a journey, and there's a tremendous amount of resources out there that you can go to. So I'm going to stop presenting now, and I'm going to turn over, I hope, to Mr. Hold on one
It's
second.
the 3 dots on the
Yeah.
Zoom bar, not
I will
the.
do that. And hopefully, Tyrone, you should be able to get the slides now yourself.
I do have a question that somebody's just asked. They were informed that Apex was closed.
Apex was closed for a period of time, and it's partly funded by the Department of Defense and the state government. And DoD ran another RFP, and now they awarded the contract to run it through this mass manufacturing extension partnership. So Apex Accelerate is open again in Massachusetts, but it was closed out for a bit.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll get started in just a second. Having a quick technical issue.
Are you unable to control control the?
Yes, I am not able to control the screen.
Paul, can you go hit those 3 dots on the Zoom bar and give Tyrone remote control again? I might have just turned off on accident. Oops. Or Tyrone, you can just share your slides if you have them available.
Actually, let me do that. Let me do that.
Yeah, that might just be easier.
Let's go presentation.
Yeah, and while he's working on that, I've had several questions. We will be sending a follow-up email. It will include a handout with the slides because I know there's a lot of active links in these slides, plus the recording, plus contact information. And a great blog on this topic. You're going to have more information than you can use for sure. So absolutely watch for that follow-up email after today's presentation. Okay.
Awesome. Without further ado, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Teresa. Once again, my name is Tyrone Williams. I'm the Business Opportunity Specialist for the Massachusetts District Office. As Paul alluded to, I'm going to double down on several things that he spoke about. One, that we are the largest buyers of goods and services in the world. So there is an opportunity for you to do some type of contracting, maybe not prime contracting if you're not at that level. Once again, connect with your resource partners, connect with these private partners as well to see, where you are and where you best fit into the ecosystem. The U.S. government, as I say, is the largest buyer of goods and services. What we're going to go into is the certifications. Certifications do not guarantee folks any types of contracts. I know folks may have heard over time, hey, I'm going to get certified as a services able veteran-owned contract. That's going to get me, veteran-owned contracts. Not necessarily the case. Your business still has to perform, and that's kind of what we're here to educate you on about the small business set-asides. That's going to be the second half of my presentation. And then the sole source opportunity comes with another type of certification, particularly with another type of certification, just another means for you to not compete as much with the whole group and still potentially win opportunities. So as Paul talked about, there is opportunities for you to grow your business depending on what you're looking to do and where you currently are. So with that, we talked about these different set-asides and socioeconomic categories, right? So you have the women-owned small business, you have HubZone, you have services able veteran-owned small business, and you have Ed WASB. Ed WASB is economically disadvantaged women-owned small business. You also have 8A. 8A is if you've been certified at the city and or state level, you've probably heard of the MBE, which is the Minority Business Enterprise Certification. We don't have that here at the SBA level or at the federal level. What we have to compensate is the 8A program, which is our 9-year business development program. Businesses that have been in business for 2 years, with some exceptions, if you have an immense amount of history, credibility, you may be able to circumvent that 2-year jump. But once again, we do hold your hand to understand how to go bid and win federal contracts, which I will go into in this presentation as well. And if there are things that are unclear to you here, please reach out to my office and we can go through this once again, or you can go through this with your resource partners to see where you actually stack up. So there are different types of contracts that you can win. We talked about earlier, full and open, set-asides, or sole source. All federal contracts are held through one site, SAM.gov. You want to go here and check, once again, just first and foremost, does your NAICS code have any applicable contracts and what you're trying to do? Were they previously awarded? Were they previously active? Or are they currently active? You can find out here what department and agencies actually offer those services. And you'll even start to see some trends like, are certain contracting officers offering the same types of opportunities? These are things that you can simply do by going to SAM.gov. I typed in, I believe, a consulting NAICS code. And once again, I was able to see all the current opportunities that exist in SAM, right? So I would click through a few and I would say, hey, do these departments match? Are these contracting representatives, similar? They're doing similar work. So I can narrow down my search and my networking opportunities to say, hey, how can I be more specific and target? You see here under set-asides, the rule of two, which is why we get certified. If you and another small business have the capabilities during contract or market research, there has to be a conversation on if this needs to be a set aside under this socioeconomic program because there are small businesses. If contracts are under a certain amount, the rule of two is applicable for two small businesses that have the capabilities to perform on a contract, which means large businesses like Johnson & Johnson, like Raytheon, are no longer in competition to bid on that work. So one, being certified is very good, which we'll go into in a second, but it doesn't guarantee you much unless people know that you exist. Once again, different types of contracting before we go into why we get certified and perform federal contracting. So let's say that you are a smaller organization. You're saying, well, I don't know if I even have the capabilities to bid on larger contracts. We do have micro purchases. So somebody like myself, who is an administrative officer here at the Small Business Administration, I have a government purchase card. I make purchases on behalf of our office, right? So something like our award ceremonies where we need to purchase trophies or things of that nature where let's say our fiscal partners need to purchase food for one of our events. If you offer any of these services, you could be a potential vendor for a micro purchase. And this is something that doesn't have to be purchased, right? They're under a certain amount, under $10,000, right? Government office have oversight over a certain amount of their budget. So being friends with people in federal agencies could work to your benefit as well. That's why networking is important. Simplified acquisition, I know folks have heard about this as well. Same type of similar process, but with contracting officers, they don't have to post the bid online or to SAM.gov. They have to post it under some circumstances to certain government agency websites for a certain period of time. What you want to remember here is if it's a smaller amount or if it's recurring, you want to be in contact or network with these folks because these opportunities are also handed out because these are small things that can be done repetitively. Contracts by negotiation, things like being on SAM.gov, connecting with contracting officers, identifying what opportunities exist. Once again, allow you greater ability to network, to do market research and understand what opportunities exist for you. So These are the spaces in which you can exist, but is not limited to as well, as Paul alluded to. There's no need to really focus on the right side, right? Indefinite delivery, time and materials, and labor incentive unless you are already doing government contracting or you're looking to say, hey, how can I advance my ability to get a different type of these contracts? We can have that conversation. Until you start bidding, until you know what NAICS code you're in, until you identify what contracts you have, the right side won't matter because you'll just be taking whatever they give you at this point, right? You don't get to decide that piece. So we can learn more about these if folks have questions, but nothing we need to focus on here. Something you do want to note when it comes to connecting with government agencies is when they're putting out bids, right? So we operate October through December. So you want to understand at the end of our quarters, we give out more contracts, right? So contracting officers have to spend down their dollars, meet the socioeconomic disadvantage goals. And at the end of the quarter is a good time to want to connect or go on SAM or see who's actually winning and bidding on work or who already has contracts and needs to get that work done before the end of the quarter. So many ways folks can get into federal contracting without actually winning a bid. Before I go forward, I've seen something in the chat. Any comments, questions?
No, it was a comment, so we're good. Just
Okay, awesome. All right, so procurement assistance. Once again, we talked about, hey, does this even make sense for me to go into federal contracting? What opportunities exist for me? So speaking with myself or coming to the office or having a one-on-one, I'll be happy to walk folks through the procurement forecast, which means the opportunities that are coming forward. You can see what contracting opportunities are coming from the future, right? From different agencies. The photo is cut off. It actually has every single agency listed here. The links are below. And once again, you can go check out the particular agency, what they focus on. You can see their procurement forecast. You can even see, if you look at the top, their business opportunities, right? So we talked about working with an administrative officer on doing micro purchases. That's where you would go for your business opportunities, right? Who's doing what and what space? Like, how can I get all of that stuff exists, right? So to my right, you have your resource partners through the SBA. You have, as Paul talked about, your Apex accelerators, not in Massachusetts, but you can go to the surrounding Apexes outside of Massachusetts and get some assistance as well. We do have a strong connection here at the Massachusetts district office with the Rhode Island Apex. I would recommend reaching out to those folks. They do offer some type of assistance to compensate for those in Massachusetts. And going back to the market research and resources, everything you would like to know if there's just particular subcontracting, previously won awards, is there larger scale contracts I can get on, which are MASs, right? Multiple award schedules. There's so much contracting opportunities that you have to figure out where you fit in and how you want to get into that space. And we can help assist you, right? So if you're starting up on day one and you're like, well, I have 20 years of manufacturing carpenter experience. Well, let's see, if there's some subcontract opportunities in your city, right? We can go as granular as seeing what's in your zip code. So great conversations to have and great things to be a part of. Now we're going to get into the certifications piece, right? And now it's become a one-stop shop. If you try to apply for these certifications prior to October of last year, you may have run into some issues, may not have gotten processed. Now we have a one-stop shop for certifications. You can go here, and once again, you will get the eligibility to see if you're eligible for 8A, if you're eligible for HubZone, if you're eligible for veteran-owned, if you're eligible for women-owned small business, without having to take extra time and all these extra steps. So I would recommend checking out certifications.sba.gov if you have not. And if you have been certified in Certify, not certifications, and you haven't logged in in the 8 bits, I would recommend, once again, logging into your profile, seeing where you're at, see if you are applicable for additional certifications. I've seen another flag go up in the chat. Is that a question?
yeah, are larger businesses sometimes mandated to work with smaller businesses?
Depending on the contract. All right, so yes, some contracts that go out, to your point, there are federal agencies that have to meet socially economic disadvantage goals. So if they're putting out a contract, let's say for $20 million, right? And let's say that's going to 8A. 8A has to get that signed off by our administrator. And then they have to say, well, a certain piece of this needs to go to, as we talked about, women-owned, veteran-owned, and they have their own percentage goals. I know there's an issue with the state where that's something similar, whereas folks are getting assigned on contracts, but they're not actually being assigned for the work. not really here at the SBA. If you're, working with a federal contractor and that federal contractor puts you on their subcontracting plan, there are opportunities in which you can highlight that, you do not receive that type of work or opportunity if that's where we're going with the conversation. But yes, absolutely, there are some regulations depending on the contract.
One more question. Is there a resource for financial collateral if and when we win an award and need funds to finance a project?
Yes, but I would defer to have you speak with our lender relations specialist. She's actually on the line. I can give you her contact information after, and she can go more in depth with you, right? Like you're saying, if I want a contract, could I go take this contract to the bank and leverage it for additional dollars to make that business grow? Once again, yes, but on the surface, right? Under some conditions and stipulations, connecting with Christy, our LRS, can give you more definition on how that works.
And a follow-up to the first question that you answered, is it exclusive to 8A?
No, that was just an example. Once again, if you're awarded a contract over a certain amount, and that's just one the more extreme example I can give, right? So not all contracts require socioeconomic division of that contract. You should go on USA spending, right? And we can go, like I said, if we want to connect later, review and research what some type of contract would look like that. We can go walk through once again how that plays out.
Thank you.
More questions, comments, concerns?
Nope, we're ready to move forward.
Sounds good. Okay, so let me back up. All right, so if you're logging on to my SBA certifications, this is the application process. Folks didn't have this level of visibility and certify. You now have it in my SBA certification. So you can go once again walk through and look at, the submission of your application. I know it's very light here, but the screening where you are, who's reviewing that, and once again, your current eligibility. So you will know fairly soon if you're in a space where certifications make sense, or if you're not, how long it's going to take. If you are, how long it's going to take for you to receive that certification, so you can plan around that. This is useful if somebody alluded to if you're bidding on contracts and you're like, oh, this person needs to give away a certain amount of dollars for me to, and I'm about to get certified. Well, now you have visibility to talk to that person about, well, this is what we're looking at realistically to have this contract or me be able to perform on that contract. So now we'll go into certifications, and I do want to leave some time for questions. So I will give you the overview and highlight. These are all pretty similar, right? So if you meet one for economically disadvantaged, you meet them all. So here we have Ed Wasby, 51% ownership requirements, right? So you can't have an individual that is a woman and that says, hey, I'm on the contract, I'm on the management paperwork. We need to be a woman-owned small business. Does this individual actually have any skill set? Do they play a role in the business? Does it actually make sense on why they're in a leadership position? If you check off those boxes at 51%, once again, it makes sense, right? You could be registered as a woman-owned small business. To be economically disadvantaged, women-owned small business, like I said, this is going to be typically the same across all other socioeconomic programs. Your personal net worth has to be less than $850,000, excluding your house. So yes, you can have $1 million house. We don't look at the house. Your 3-year average income is $400,000 or less, which means over the last 3 years, is your salary, are you taking home that much, which most people aren't? And then fair market value of all your assets is $6.5 million or less. So the veteran-owned small business is, as I talked about, similar. So you have to have 51% ownership, be it the veteran representative of your business. The certification is valid for 3 years. All can be done once again through SBA certifications.sba.gov, which was not previously the case. The vet cert was previously housed with the VA program. So if folks are looking to get veteran certified and you were previously certified via vet cert or the VA, I would highly encourage you to log into certifications.sba.gov just to check your profile to make sure things are updated. Once again, being a small business, your NAICS code, something as Paul talked about, is self-determined. You guys can go look up what you're looking to do and see how your NAICS code falls into that. And I say that because you may have better contracting opportunities under a different NAICS code that has similar services. And once again, we'll go through that market research in just a second towards the end of this presentation. What is hub zone? Once again, if you meet that eligibility requirement, 51% ownership, you have to be one located in a hub zone. The next slide will show you the map that allows you to determine that. 35% of your employees have to come from a hub zone or work in a hub zone. Obviously, you have to be in the SBA size standard. We work with small businesses. You don't have to have a minimum time in business. Um, and yeah, there's a site visit that goes with that to make sure that you're actually employed, that you're paying bills there. And we deal with historically underutilized business zones, not just at the federal government, but lots of opportunities with the city and state. I would say that people say that the 8A program is the most, well hidden gem amongst the SBA. I would say Hub Zone is because it's one of the more difficult things because of where you have to be located, right? So if you are in a hub zone, or if you do have that ability to be in a hub zone, I would highly recommend you looking at the previous data of contracts awarded in that hub zone, the work reference to your NAICS code to see if that makes sense, and see if you can break your way into that. And if you're not already, or if you're looking to when you can't see a way to do that, once again, the subcontracting space of who has it, who does it, and how can I network with them. Okay, so the 8A Business Development Program, as I talked about, nine year hand-holding assistance. It helps you, gain the ability to thrive. We help folks all the way through graduation. Just because you graduate from the 8A program, the world isn't over. It's actually one of the better things for you because you're recognized as somebody who was a prime contractor for the federal government. Within the states, it grants you the ability to mentor other smaller firms and gain on their 8A contracts because once again, you can no longer perform on that space, but since you have past performance in that space, it would probably make sense if you helped out somebody who's growing in that space. And you can say that about any of the certifications, right? Contracting is not about who has the most contracts. It's about how you navigate your ecosystem in your space. We go through 5 things once again for the 8A certification. If you and your spouse actually meet the socioeconomic disadvantage, the control, if you are capable of winning government contracts, and part of that is being in business for 2 years and showing revenues for a certain amount of time. Obviously, your character, your contract information, your small business programs. If you qualify for that, being registered in certifications. And the benefits to this is, once again, not just having assistance from a dedicated rep. You can be a part of the mentor protege program, which allows you to work with primes, have a formal contract with prime firms, and help perform on their contracts. The benefit with the mentor protege is it's pre-written by the SBA, so you and your mentor are only required to do a certain amount of work. It's a 60-40 split, and once again, that is checked every year, so we're not running into issues where folks are being taken advantage of. Something similar with joint ventures, if you're looking to not have a formal agreement with a firm to say, hey, we want to work with you in this space, maybe you want to open a separate shop and maybe share resources. You have that opportunity with joint ventures. So once again, these numbers are actually a little bit outdated. The only number here that's outdated, actually, no, it's not even on here. So one thing that did get updated is for sole source contracts, for the 8A program. Like I said, this happened sole source and other certifications that are primarily in the 8A program. It was 7.5 million. It was $4.5 million for NAICS codes that are not construction, and $7.5 million for NAICS codes that are construction, which means contracting officers, if you're in this program, can say, well, this person either shows the capability or has had past capability that we're not going to bid, we're not going to put this out there. We're just going to go to the 8A business rep and say, is this business capable? Are they eligible to receive this contract? That has been updated to $5.5 million for non-construction NAICS codes and $8.5 million for construction NAICS codes. So another reason to either get certified and or join the 8A program. They do not have to be exclusive. You can have more or multiple. It is actually encouraged. What happens is the first 4 years, 1 through 4, I actually have it here, right? So 8.5 for manufacturing and 5.5 for all others. For the first 4 years, you're actually not evaluated on how many 8A contracts you get, which means if your business only was awarded sole source contracts for the first 4 years of this program, you could live and eat really good. In the next 5 to 9, you're going to have to showcase that your business can win contracts outside of the 8A program. So if you are already doing business and already winning contracts, it works into your favor. Mentor Protege program, as I talked about, if you're looking to either grow, feel like I just need, somebody to talk to, or, my business is good, but if I had that capability as well, we would be much better. The mentor protege, subcontracting, joint ventures, the idea of teaming with other businesses to get the job done is highly encouraged here, not just at the SBA, but amongst all most federal agencies. And I say most because there are several federal agencies that have mentor protege programs. You're going to hear about SBA's mentor protege program, but the Department of Transportation also has one. The Department of Energy also has one. There are several long lists agencies that have mentor protege programs. So you may say, well, if I'm in technology, what agency typically contracts with technology firms? I would go research that and say, well, do they have a mentor protege program? Who are the primes in this space and how can I get connected with them? And something that folks do want to be cognizant of is there has been a far overhaul change. Some things have been updated, such as the sole source amount for contracts that are going out. We talked about it going from 4.5 million to 5.5 million for all non-construction NAICS codes, and 7.5 to 8.5 for all construction NAICS codes. So, along with several other things, right? You can go check out all of the changes or the updates that had occurred in the last, I want to say 6 to 8 months. Questions? I've seen some more things go up.
Does becoming certified enable more programs than a firm that is not certified?
I don't know if it enables more programs. It just grants you higher opportunities to win contracts for several reasons. You can not have any certifications, still be a part of any program, mentor, protege, joint venture, it does not matter. But let's say if you have a women-owned small business certification and I'm a business that does not, it is just more attractive to now work with a business that has that certification, right? This may be of interest to me. So that's how you have to look at it, how you're additionally marketing yourself.
Okay. Yeah, and then I have two funding questions I think we're going to save for the end that Christie's agreed to take. Um, yeah, then that other question will hold. So go ahead.
Awesome. So we talked about market research as I wrap up. And once again, this is, why I'm here at the Small Business Administration. If I was talking too fast, if things didn't come off clear to you and you're like, you know what, I just need to know, really close, just hold my hand on how can I identify potentially what that will look like for me. This is the section for you. I'm the person you want to talk to. We can connect after. So I talked about SAM.gov is a great way to start. You can go type in several things, right? So I typed in the Department of Army just to see if I want to work with them, right? And I know what I know, so I did this for the example, right? And I lined this up with one of the 8A firms that works in my portfolio. This is an example. If you wanted to do some type of market research, who's winning and how they're doing it. The left side shows you I typed in three subcategories. The Department of Army, which I copied and pasted from subtier. I typed in the state that I wanted, Massachusetts, and I typed in the next code. What type of work did I do? And it gave me every opportunity, right? 30 results, whether they were active or inactive, which you can also filter. This lets me know, one, as we talked about, is there a contracting officer that typically does this? Is there a person that has typically been winning this award? X, Y, and Z. So all of that stuff, including the the contracting officer's information, is available here on SAM. You can take the winning contractor's information, as long as they're a small business, and you can reverse search that in certifications.sba.gov, which is another website we had previously up, and you can go get their contact information. That's a more granular look. We can go to USA Spending, which has all of the previously awarded contracts, and you can go see, once again, on the left side, you have results by geography, the place of performance, right? So as you can see on the left side, you have VA, which has more than 100, and it looks like close to $1 billion in contracting, right? On the right side, you have the recipient location. So the work was performed on the left side. The darker it is, the more that the place was performed, right? From the right side, we can see who actually won contracts. Yes, VA is still dark, but look at the other states that have become dark as well. The recipients are from out of states winning contracts in other states. That is a sentiment here. You have work that is being performed on your left side, right, in these darker states, but the people performing them not necessarily from the same places, right? You have Florida that's lighted up, right? You have Alabama that's lighted up, right? So you have to think about, does the work that you do, can it be performed in other places? where's that work actually being won? So there's so many factors, like I talked about. Just because you're here, you're now, and you're like, well, maybe it doesn't seem possible and applicable. You have to open up your mind to the possibility of who's doing what, how they're doing it, and when it's being done. All may work into your favor. Long spiel, finally at the end of it. So next steps would be doing an SBA's readiness assessment checklist to make sure that you're actually ready to do that type of activity. Begin your market research, and then I will actually pass it over to Paul for the rest of these next steps because this is something that his team would be more inclined to do, developing strategy and everything else below. So, Paul, thank you for the time. I will pass it over to you if you guys want to close it out for the team and ask for some questions.
You can
Yes. Go ahead, Teresa.
can you move to the next slide for us, Tyrone?
My
Thank you
apologies. There
so
you go.
much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I do have a question. Here's a bigger question that everyone may want to know now that AI is now present. Is there a proposal writing resource that will help hold our hand in training, learning how to understand and write an effective winning proposal?
I don't know about AI. There are some firms that I know that are working in that space that do that personally. Probably contract with them. They have won some contracts. The SBA does have on our website training, guidance, and assistance. Once again, our resource partners help do that. I don't know if they do that in couple some with AI. So you're gonna have to connect with them and kind of get those answers.
Okay.
I
And then
can, so I know, I mean, there's many companies out there that put their oar in this market in terms of if they were not AI enabled, but they're proposal shops and they're certainly advertising. I've used some on a trial basis and they really do facilitate. So if somebody wants to track me down, I can give you some of the commercial names that are out there.
Okay. And then I have two questions that are in the funding realm. And I know Christy said that she could jump in here if needed. So if she can unmute if that will work. The question is, if we partner with a larger prime company, do we or should we leverage financial resources as a subcontractor?
That's a great question that I cannot really give a yes or a no to you for. I would have to kind of know more about you, your financial picture, and your current situation, which I would be happy to discuss separately. But one thing I do just want to highlight is in 2019, we learned that anything can happen at any given moment, and it is always best to have some emergency funds set aside. So I like to always advise businesses to keep some working capital, some emergency funds set aside, and go the loan route for certain things that you might need, depending on the rate, the climate, everything like that. But I'd be happy to schedule a time so we can discuss further. It does depend on your particular situation.
And then I'll ask the second question in a second. But Tyrone, did you want to put your contact information in the chat? I've had some people asking for that. Okay, the next question is, with all the new administrative changes to the GovCon space, has there been new rules in place with the SBA to review new programs? And are there new active funding programs we can begin to apply?
So for the funding programs, just a quick little background on how our funding programs work. So we actually don't issue any loans directly here at the SBA. We partner with over 140 different lenders in the state of Massachusetts, and the funds come completely from those lenders. We just provide them a guarantee on a substantial percentage of those funds to help mitigate some of that risk. Now, there were some changes that happened with the new administration to our funding programs. We do have a new loan program, particularly for manufacturers, that did come out of this new administration. Some different requirements for our loan programs. But just one thing I want to mention, regardless of the administration changes, small business is a priority for us and always will be. So we do have some new and exciting funding options and some changes. If you want to discuss offline at a different time, I'd be happy to go over them more in depth.
Okay. And just as a slight note, I know another one of my Boston business mentors is on this call, and he did put a little thing into chat, and he has some great tips, and we'll include that on the follow-up email. So we'll definitely watch for that additional information that wasn't provided here today. Paul, did you have any closing remarks
No, this has
before?
been great. It's a vibrant, exciting, and now ever-changing marketplace. And thank you, Tyrone and Christy, as well for your contributions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was a very great opportunity for people to learn a lot of information. So, like I said, watch for that follow-up email. It's going to have so much information in there for you to use to keep moving forward, because we don't want this to be the end of your journey in this arena. So, thanks, Tyrone. Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Paul. And we hope to work with you all again in the future.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
everyone.
Bye-bye.